One of the things that I continuously observe when I observe people that are seriously financially desperate, such as people that are homeless, people that are dealing with substance abuse issues, might have got kicked out of the house or kicked to the curb by their family members, and they don't have anywhere to live, any place to go. And one of the core things that I've understood over the years of just kind of looking at this financial system, as we know today, uh, people call it capitalism. Kind of looking at this like a game, but not in the sense where I don't I don't take it serious. It's not necessarily a game that you should not take serious. It is definitely real. It's definitely something that I think that you should take serious. But from that, kind of looking at it from that perspective of like a game, a lot of what people can do to overcome things is this one word that I mentioned, before, and I'll keep mentioning, and it's momentum. One of the reasons why I wrote the book, The Millionaire Savings Plan, and the whole idea of the book is that of momentum. The whole penny doubler strategy to just take a penny to flip it into 10 cent, and then flip that 10 cent to a dollar, and $2, and keep going until you get as high as you possibly can go. That's a momentum strategy. That is a progressive momentum strategy, basically, or even concept. And that is what have gotten a lot of people in a better position. I'm no no I'm uh, uh, even me. I've used the power of momentum in many ways in my personal life, and people that understand momentum, they do fairly well. I mean, that's the reason why people work jobs. That's the reason why people consistently work a job. I mean, you got some people that have had jobs for decades. My one of my uncles, he just recently retired. From a state job that he was working over 20 years. And the reason why people kind of, on a base level just kind of go to work is because they want that consistent momentum, that consistent paycheck, and also even leading to some type of retirement income that's kind of locked in and guaranteed. That's momentum. He's now retired. He gets, a paycheck that he is kind of he's pretty much guaranteed to get. He had to put in a few decades to get that, but that's one base level of what people do to go and go out and get momentum. Certainly, some people do go into business. Business is very, very difficult. And if you are able to do good in business, I'll say that it's no different. You're using momentum. The thing that makes a business take off is kind of like a fire. Having if you ever started a fire or seen someone start a fire, fire needs some type of momentum to get started. It needs some type of dryness, some heat. Okay, it needs air, and basically those combinations as well as friction, you could start some type of smoke, which builds up heat and creates a fire. So the thing with that is that you build that fire, and ultimately want an inferno, where you just your business is making so much money, it's churning out a big fiery ball of energy of continual financial growth, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean, it's business is kind of it's advanced. It's an advanced form of some working. You learn, basically, you learn from your job, or at least you're supposed to learn basically from school. You take school, what you learn from school, go college, and then you go start a job, your internship, and you learn from that internship and that job. And you can take some of the things that you've learned from those internships and those jobs, and you can ultimately start a business with that. That's an advanced step. That's what is the steps to a lot of people that used those steps to start their business. Now, I mean, ultimately, like I say, it's no different. The concept of basically using momentum to get your business off the ground. Ultimately, yeah, it's people that rely on business credit, getting business loans and whatnot, and that can work out for you. That can be kind of like getting some propane, or some getting some fuel to add to the fire, right? That you have to pay for, right? And you can get your business lit up. You can get it, fired up, right? Get it off the ground, make some money, and then ultimately you have to, pay that back, right? You have to use some of those flames, some of that energy that you ultimately created to pay that loan back, right? That's how that works. And that's, some people have used that, and they've done fairly well with that, and they've done well, and they've catapulted their business. Some people have, failed at business, and they had to either file some type of bankruptcy or dissolve their business. So, yeah, I mean, that's one way of looking at it. But then ultimately, yeah, some people they don't get any business credit, or they don't even qualify for any business credit, and they basically bootstrap their business. They bootstrap their business from basically a small operation that they probably most likely started at their home, and they catapulted into some type of multi-million dollar success story. Where they have some type of small business to, some have, very, very few have basically created a corporation out of that small operation in a home or in some type of garage or basement. So it's the same thing. It's a momentum thing, and it's also where people can see that if you're making money in your business, and you can get in investors to put capital up, because they see the fire is going pretty well. It's automatic. It's it's a constant burn. In the concept of the fire, and it's going, and they like, okay, well, I'll put my money in this investment, and basically put some more fuel to this fire, and ultimately you can get in a situation where it becomes successful. And for example, Airbnb go. I'm not sure if Airbnb went public yet. I think they did. but I'll just say, let's say Uber, okay? Uber definitely went public. The people that invested into Uber, they made a lot of money when they went public. It was basically a success story, even though I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that Uber has yet to have made a profit yet, or be basically maintain some type of profit. But ultimately, though, the people that invested in Uber and also the founders that started Uber, as well as the early the early workers that had some type of shares, they made, millions and millions of dollars, if not, billions of dollars already off of Uber. I mean, but for every one Uber, there's, you know, a whole bunch of businesses that failed, that ultimately dissolved, and they did not return some type of return for those investors, and ultimately didn't return anything for the founders of those businesses, and everything, whoever was involved. So yeah, that's the story. That's the key motivator or key concept in this situation is momentum. And back to the personal situation of the bum on the street, or even the common man that's struggling. It's a story of momentum. People don't tend to want to give you anything. One of I have a short that's on my. I think it's not short. That's YouTube, but it'll be real on Facebook. One of my most successful reels is a short video of bandman Kevin explaining how people don't really want to give you any money because they don't want you to outshine them. Your success may outshine whatever they have going on, and then them basically giving you their money will ultimately most likely help your successful rise. And a lot of times people are very cognitive of that, or even you would say petty, to where they don't want you to be successful, because you're going to be able to outshine them. You're going to live a better life than they live, currently. And those people may even be people that are in your family. It might be people that you're related to, and definitely people that personally. And the thing is that nonetheless, you don't necessarily have to rely on those people for your success, but the story is still the same. Momentum gets you to the point where you don't necessarily have to worry about being on the street. You have some type of financial success to where basically you've used the power of momentum to where you've compounded some money to, or assets, to where you have them and you utilize them to have basically your basic needs met, or met, or basically you have a place to stay, you have transportation, you have your basis, or your basic needs met. Certainly it's hard to do that if you're on drugs, if you're mentally unstable, it's very difficult to have some type of carry some momentum. I mean, those things are obviously momentum killers. You know, you have a lot of momentum killers. You could say a lot of things are momentum killers. You could say the seven deadly sins definitely take away some momentum. And yeah, it's a situation where, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter how you got the money or resources. People are going to have to respect your resources. You know, the bum on the street doesn't have any resources, so he doesn't, or she doesn't get that much respect. They don't have any money to pay for things, to get their basic needs met. And you know, some people can get out of that situation and they learn, you know, some things, and they, you know, get the mental health in a better state of mind, get some type of momentum. Whereas, you know, they utilize some government, you know, funding, or some type of, not so much government funding. They utilize some type of non for profits that utilize government resources to where they have a place to live. Because the thing about it is, here's the deal. A lot of times where people don't understand or don't value other people or family is where, so, a lot of times people tap into their family and they use their momentum to help them, you know, avoid basically being homeless or being destitute. Like, for example, in my personal case, I would say that, you know, I'm not the only one. I've utilized my parents, primarily my mother. You know, when she was alive, I've utilized my grandmother, and the fact that, you know, my grandparents, my grandfather worked, you know, and also had a business for, you know, nearly 4 decades, and paid, you know, to pay the cost to be the boss, basically, to keep his property. And, you know, I was able to utilize that space, that family home, many times in my life. And you know, that was allowed, that momentum that he utilized, that they both utilized and worked hard for. I was able to tap into that. You know, some people don't have family. Some people they don't have any family on their father's side or their mother's side, you know, to tap into. And that is, you know, basically others momentum, your family members momentum, or your sister, brother, whatever. You know, some people, they don't have that, or they, you know, have gotten disconnected from their family. You know, you could even say that, let's go back to business, right? uh a lot of what helps people in business is also the same is that they have a rich uncle or a rich father that has the money to give them for a business venture. You know, the quote, the you know, classic story of Donald Trump, given $1 million by his father, I believe on his 18th birthday, to, you know, basically ultimately go into business. And keep this in mind, right? I mean, Donald Trump is very old now. He got that money back in the I want to say 60s or 70s. So that $1 million, having $1 million in the 70s, or let's say early 70s, that was like the equivalent of probably, I would say, over $20 million of today's money. So that $1 million was worth a lot more. Because, I mean, you know, gotta understand, in the early 70s, you can buy a home, basically not a brand new home, but you could buy a home, what would be called an existing home. Um, that's a home that's not brand new or custom built, right? You could buy a house, for like 15 grand. That is basically move in ready. I mean, the cost of goods, the cost of homes, cars, very very cheap. I mean, you could buy a brand new car in the early 70s for like, you know, $2,500. So that money, that $1 million back then was a lot of money, and ultimately, yeah, I mean, you have people that they get an inheritance of their family's business that they get inherited to after, the father dies. They take on that business, that small business, that multi-million-dollar business. You know, those are some of the things that some people tap into, that just by proxy of them kind of just being lucky to be born in that family, right? So you have that aspect of it, and you also have people that just overall just get an inheritance, and they get some type of they have a trust fund, and they become an heir or heiress, where they've accumulated monies by proxy of their you know family's inheritance. That's very very few. Overall, I think less than like 10% of individuals actually get some type of sizable inheritance or trust fund. Typically, what happens is people get a combination of a trust fund or some type of inheritance. Uh, and that's typically how they get a combination of an inheritance, and then they learn. They become self-taught, and they become financially successful, multimillionaire. And that's like 35%, close to about 35% of the population. That's pretty much how they get successful. In the black community, is very very rare. It's I believe in the black community, as far as inheritance is concerned, less than 14% of black people get an inheritance. And usually the inheritance is, and what they mean by inheritance is something that's over $20,000. And really, a lot of times it's not something significant to where it's multi-million-dollars or even $1 billion. Inheritance is nothing, nowhere near that. Those inheritance are extremely rare in the black community, because the black community doesn't really have a lot of businesses that are financially successful like that. I think it's if you really go in the stats, as far as how black people in business, um it's in like the single digits as far as how many successful black companies there are, that are over $1 billion, as far as worth and value, and even 100 million or so, or even in the millions. I mean, it is black businesses, but most of them are not really making that much as far as their value. So it's very very few view black heirs or heiresses out there. It's like you probably can count on your fingers and toes. It's just very very rare. So all of that said, it's just to tap into other people's momentum. A lot of people don't have that ability to even do that, so they don't really have anybody to save them. And a lot of people, race unincluded, people don't have they have very few errors that they could make. A lot of people operate on what is called a minimal to no chance of any error that they can take. Meaning, for example, like let's just say you lost your job, right? And that's something that it's not might not even have anything to do with you. It's just you lost. It's just fate have it. You lost your job. So then basically you've lost your ability to pay for your apartment. That could be something that can put you in a situation where you have no other place to go. You can be ultimately homeless just like that within the next month or two by just proxy of just that, not having enough savings to carry you through that scenario. So it's that could just be that, and ultimately, if of course, if you do anything like start using illicit drugs that are expensive habits, such as let's just say getting on meth or getting on heroin mixed with fentanyl or crack cocaine, of course. I mean, you could pretty much forget about it, and then ultimately nobody would even want to bring you in their house because, I mean, you obviously would have to steal to get your habit, to feed your habit. So then it's, you become a situation where you're not really liked. You're kind of a problem person, to deal with. So yeah, that has an aspect of it, as well. But yeah, a lot of times most people operate off of a slim chance of error, meaning they really don't have too many possibilities to make an error. And this kind of goes into why, you have a lot of you have today, where you have a lot of women that are very picky, especially in the black community. You have a lot of black women that are very, very picky when it comes to, they don't want to pick a man that is, quote unquote, dusty or broke or whatever, because they don't want to, the idea of them having someone that cannot financially contribute, and they, people start thinking about, the worst of the worst, like, being broke and living in the projects, or, just struggling and stuff like that. And I mean, here's the thing with that. This is what I'll say with that, right? A lot of that is over exaggerated by kind of like, I would say that's a psyops. That's something that you have been engineered. I'll say, I mean, definitely the women have engineered into their psyche by watching too much TV, maybe listening to too many stories and stuff like that. Because a lot of times people in a situation where it's a struggle, right? Two people in that scenario tend to fare out better than, you being by yourself, and that's for either person, men or women, because typically people are, it's not like, let's just say like this, right? It's not like a guy that, let's just say, went to college for a couple years. He dropped out of college, and, he's quote unquote, in the eyes of women, a dusty because he's struggled to get a job and kind of find his way after, dropping out of college. It's not like this guy typically, or a guy like that is typically going to just be a vagabond on the street and be broke for the rest of his life. Typically, it's a kind of a ranking system. And a lot of time, I guess, women are really not educated on mating. I can go into in depth about, what they didn't teach black people, but one of the things that they didn't I'll say two things they didn't teach black people, and this kind of goes into Neely Fuller and Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and stuff like that. They didn't teach black people business. They didn't teach black people also the science of mating. The science of mating, okay? Another aspect of it was war, okay? But the thing is that when it comes to, it's not even so much mating, it's just kind of where you fare in the job market. Let's just say job market. If you typically someone that has some college is listed as some college, they're ranked higher than someone that just went to high school. So it's not like somebody that just you went to college for a couple years, you're just some bum. No, that's a very honorable thing that you actually went to college for a year, or two. Like that's, in the eyes of an employer, it's kind of like you tried. I'm a person that I definitely fit the category of somebody that has some college. I've actually been to, been to college quite a while, but I just didn't finish, right? Typically guys that have been to college fare very relatively well in life. It's not like a dude that just, went to college for a year or two is just going to be a bum and just be struggling for the rest of your life. Like that's just a lot of times women over exaggerate, in their brain, that this is going to be some type of automatic outcome. And then, they realize when they get older, they gave up on decent men that they totally over exaggerated, because the guy, figures out, okay, see the guy on Facebook or Instagram, he's some real estate developer and he's doing better than they have with their degree and, corporate job and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, it's, you fail for the psyops and there you go. But it's the thing is that when it comes down to it's a situation where, people have a minimal chance for recovery from any error because it comes from a situation of not having any momentum. Most people don't really have any momentum to rely on. I'm starting to see a lot of these news stories to where people are doing some desperate moves. They're, doing a lot of, things out of desperation. And a lot of that comes from just, not having any momentum. And then you can I can go into going back to what I started this video off with as far as not taking life serious. A lot of people are not taking life serious. And what I mean by that is that people are not being thrifty, people are not saving money, so they're overspending, and then you got the whole trying to look rich lifestyle to keep up with the Joneses lifestyle, and it costs a lot of money to do that, and it's a lot of stuff that's involved, the party lifestyle and all of that. And it's not something that is going to have any stability in your life. There's something that most young people learn. You gotta possibly stay at home more, learn how to cook so you can stop eating out so much, and have more financial stability so you can save more money and have some momentum for yourself, have some type of emergency fund. That's like kind of, it's basic, financial 101 is, you have some type of emergency fund. Dave Ramsey, he says basically you should have at least $1,000 in your emergency fund. Well, I mean, that's the start, but I definitely, basically one of my techniques as far as the millionaire savings plan is, have as much as you possibly can. Basically use that whole savings plan method or emergency fund method and take it to the moon, okay? Because that's literally what the concept of my book is, that you take that, that $1,000, that first step, and you just, try to double it and keep doubling it as far as you can go, because, ultimately have $2,000, 4,000, 8,000, $16,000. You can use that ultimately to buy the things that you need in your life, and yeah, I mean, you're gonna pay your bills. You're gonna definitely. I definitely talk about paying your debts and getting on some type of debt snowball and stuff like that. But my thing is a modest. It's modest and it's practical. My critique with Dave Ramsey, and it'll always be that way, is that, it's his concepts is, I would say, very boomerish, and it's not really pragmatic, because the thing is that one of the reasons that my plan is very successful is because it uses momentum and also leverage. Okay, well, if you got a lot of debt, which a lot of people do have a lot of debt, you do ultimately want to pay that. You don't want to just pay every, let's just say you got $100,000 in debt. You don't want to put all of your money up and put it in towards your debt. Just, that's not something you want to do, because see, here's the thing. You want to use some of your money to as some type of momentum, because if you put, let's just say you put $100,000 in all of your debt tomorrow, well, and then you go get hit by a car the next day. Well, there you go. I mean, and then yeah, the person you hit had no insurance. Okay, so good luck on trying to get any compensation or anything like that, and then recover yourself. And you definitely got to be out of work, because you got to get hospital stay, aftercare, and physical therapy and all of that. And it's like, yeah, I mean, boom, now you have no momentum, because you've been listening to some rich white boomer that told you to put all your money towards paying for other companies that white people tend to own mostly, and put it up and shut up. Like, now you ain't got no money, whereas just having some type of plan, if you're able to save, or $100,000 like that, you have some type of 5-year payoff plan, that snowball plan for a year or whatever, and you gradually pay those debts off. And if it's just one payment that's $100,000, well, I mean, obviously, you want to probably be putting about $1,000 a month into a debt snowball, to get to where you have some type of 8-year to 10-year payoff plan, right? So you don't want to put all of your money in 100,000. That's just not practical. I mean, it just doesn't even make any sense, because you got to have some place to live. You have to have transportation. You have to have, some type of insurance, right? Some type of life insurance or something like that, or disability insurance, that you can pay monthly to something happen to you. You can, have something to rely on. I mean, you do not want to basically over leverage yourself, and you don't want to blow your momentum, because if you blow that, you don't have anything. You could possibly not have anything else to rely on. I mean, that's the whole story here. So, that's where my intelligence and where my plan is more superior, than the whole bloat. Just put all your money in up and it's just get out of debt. I mean, you'll be better off either way. It's not the worst case scenario, the end of the world if you did that. Typically, you're not gonna get hit by a car if you ultimately paid off all your debts. I mean, yeah, if you wanted to do that, you can, and it's still gonna be a good situation for you. But if you use my plan as far as things, I mean, you'll pay the debt off eventually, but you'll be using the momentum to leverage yourself to make more money. In return, you'll come out greater. And basically, if you know how to invest, you'll come out greater in return, and you won't over leverage yourself to where you just put all of your money up and everything like that. So it's it is what it is. But the thing is that when it comes down to it, momentum is everything. People just don't respect people in this country. In the United States, people only respect you if you have something that if you have some type of capital. Even people that say that they don't like capitalism. They don't like people that are about money. They don't like people that always talk about money. Those same people would not respect you if you don't have any money. I mean, it's just it's just double talk, and it's like at the end of the day, I always remember this, and it kind of goes into a situation about two types of people. So you have a broke person and a stingy person, right? That got money. The person that people can't stand the most is the broke person. At the end of the day, they'll talk shit about the stingy dude or whatever, the stingy woman, but they respect the fact that the stingy person has the money. They just can't get it. But they can't possibly even get money from the broke person either, because he ain't got no money, or she ain't got no money. So they will forever, they'll talk all kind of stuff about the broke person, or they got all kinds of names for broke people. But the stingy person is just the stingy person, or the asshole, or whatever, and it's fine, but. They got, at the end of the day, they gotta respect the stingy person, because the stingy person has what they don't have, So and that's kind of my two ways you can look at it as far as what you choose to be, because I'm ultimately in the corner of the stingy person, because the stingy person is just very frugal, thrifty person, because I'm gonna tell you, you could be trying to please people and go broke and all of that, or be broke and all of that. People are not gonna like you. They're gonna talk. They're gonna have all kind of stuff to say about you behind your back or whatever, and they might pretend like they don't like people that got money, but they don't like you either. Because you got nothing for them, either. You have no possibilities of having anything for them. So, they can't stay. You got to pick your battles, So, yeah, I mean, that's being said. Those things being said, people don't care. I mean, I see homeless people going to work and coming back home. They don't care. All they know is what they see, what the reality is. Being homeless, not having any money, not knowing how to get money, how to, tapping into momentum. They don't understand these concepts. I mean, I'll say this. If I lost everything tomorrow, I know how to get it back because I know the power of momentum. I know the power of a dollar. Taking a dollar, buying something, and basically getting $2, and then $4, and then $8, and then $16, and then the more you get, the more you can, it accumulates, to more money. And I mean, this is one of the richest countries. Yeah, it's an unequitable country as well, and the reason why is it just people don't really know how they don't know different concepts, and they also just don't have any momentum to tap into. A lot of people, even when they were babies, I mean, even their children, their parents were busted. They were born, with a wooden spoon. And they didn't have any resources to tap into. Their parents was very harsh, very even abusive because they just didn't have nothing. You had, the parents were pissed off and angry and broken angry their whole life, and, they struggled. And, some of those people, they value money now. They value, success now. But, they had it rough. And then some people never get out of that, They have a very hard life, from that. And a lot of trauma that they're dealing with. And the thing is that, I mean, a lot of those people, they have no momentum to rely on. Some of those people are, out there right now, homeless, dealing with, all kind of mental issues, substance abuse problems and stuff like that. Because, they never had a break their whole life. They never had a break. Like, most people, like even myself, right? My family, my mother and father, I would say, provided me with, I would say, a copper spoon. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. My daughter's probably more a silver, definitely. Cause I used to buy silver before I met their mother. Man, I had a computer store. I had a little safe, and I don't even think I even had a safe. I just, I was at one time I was collecting silver, So I mean, like, I was born with, some type of, I'll just say this. I never had to go without a day without food. I never went a day without having a roof over my head, having clothes and stuff like that. So I had, basics, I wasn't like, super privileged or anything like that, where I had all the latest video games and all the latest, gadgets and toys. But I had a break. In my childhood, it was times where it was, some struggling going on, interpersonal problems with my parents and stuff in their relationship. But I had times, long stretches where I had some type of break. You gotta understand, it's some people that they come from a household where they had no break. They might even been sexually abused, physically abused, neglected. My ex-wife, fits that scenario, right? And it's like, you got people that have they never, even in their childhood, they had no break. Their parents were not able to give them any break. Parents were on drugs or other, maybe alcoholics or whatever the case may be. Went to prison or something like that. I mean, they had no break. Okay. And they had no reprieve even in their childhood. So, they just struggled, you know what I'm saying? So the thing is that, with all that said, people, they, you might be passing somebody by on the street, and then, you see a look on their face and you wonder why they're so rough and all that. It's like you might be, dealing with somebody that their whole life, they never had a break. even in their childhood, they had no break. And you gotta understand, you gotta understand people. I mean, I would even say, I'm a peopleologist. I study people. That's why I do very well with people. Some people really like me. Some people really rock with me, and I understand people very, very well. Where this will take me, I don't know. But I definitely understand people very well, and understanding people and the people that some people probably don't stop to think or care about, such as people that have been in a situation where they've been basically in poverty, and they had no breaks. These people, man, are they look at the world a totally different way than you possibly did, because most people, they did have a normal childhood, or a childhood where their parents allowed them to give them some type of break. I mean, some their parents not only gave them a break, they gave them, breakfast in Paris, breakfast in Europe, in Jamaica, and all kind of stuff, because their parents, maybe middle class or upper middle class or whatever, or even better, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, you gotta understand, some people didn't have it, where they had some type of breaks, man, and they struggle, and they still struggling to this day, and that didn't have any momentum. Their parents didn't have any momentum to rely on, and didn't understand. A lot of people, these concepts that I'm talking about are very, very basic. It's not really like, I'm not giving you some advanced algorithmic mathematical equation here. I'm talking about momentum, having some type of power or leverage to tap into, some type of energy. Okay, momentum is a word of energy. Money is very much like an energy, or you can just say finances is just like an energy. It's a subject of energy, because yeah, if you have financial resources to tap into, you have some momentum. I mean, the person on the street, and the difference between me and being on the street and not is just me just, kind of researching and educating myself, and obviously maintaining some type of health, maintaining some type of mental health, to where I can live day to day. But also, what helped me, because I've been there, I've been down and out. I mean, I've been struggling where I remember not having hardly no momentum, losing a lot of momentum, or, damn near all of my momentum, right? I remember that, and, the difference between that person, which I've been there, and the person I am today, is that, I definitely understand momentum. And it's kind of like, it kind of weird, not so much weird, but it's kind of funny to a certain extent, because it's like, literally, it's like a game. Like, you can literally do this. Like, you can take $2. I mean, but you gotta take it serious. You have to take, a lot of times the people that don't take money serious, they don't take this financial system serious, it's not gonna really work out for you, because you got to take this shit serious. Even though it's funny, because it's funny to a sense to me, to where it's like, literally the only difference between a person on the street that's not getting any respect, somebody might give him $1 or $2, whatever, and he's struggling on the street and people looking down on him, is that he just doesn't have a whole bunch of zeros in his bank account with commas and integers in front of it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, it literally is that. Money changes a lot of things. I mean, it literally is, it is like a miracle worker. Money is a fucking, I mean, it could change a whole scenario, a whole situation. You know, um, you know what I'm saying? And it's like basically that's that's it. People that's why that's why the person, is out there like that. They have no momentum for whatever reason. Whatever the reason is, it's usually something to do with like health and also substance abuse. And it's just, mindset, I mean, having the mindset. The reason I'm, like I say, I'm able to have what I have is because I have the mindset. I did go through those struggles. I do understand. Okay, well, this situation is serious. I do know you need to get some property. So you can avoid, if not nothing else, you can avoid this situation. I mean, my last video I did was about renting causes it can be the cause of homelessness, and I did pretty well on views, and I think people really understood, even if it might have been that they might have thought it was clickbait or whatever. People understand that. That title speaks for itself. I mean, if you can get yourself in a situation to where, like, I'm in Indiana, and Indiana has certain laws that are more flexible than other states, and stuff like Illinois, for example. You can get a plot of land for relatively cheap, and you can buy a container. You can buy a container for about $2,000 to like $1,500, and you need tools. You basically get somebody that knows how to weld and work on metal, a metal worker, basically, if you don't know how to do it yourself. But you basically have to install a home, make a home out of this container. And it doesn't cost that much compared to build out of a home, of a conventional home. It's a lot cheaper build out because it's a smaller, compact space that you're working on. It's a little different because it's a metal container, but you can literally get one of those and build a house for like less than $20,000 to $30,000. And your life is forever changed because you don't have to worry about being homeless. I mean, that problem is solved. I mean, you have to pay the taxes on your land and stuff like that. And it's just little stuff like that to where it could make all the difference. I mean, in my case, I bought an abandoned home that was a lower price because of the current market and stuff like that. But I mean, I have a build out, a huge build out that I have to do, that I'm in the process of. But yeah, man, I don't have. That's not necessarily a problem of mine. I could even take it a step further. Also, people are struggling to pay rent and mortgages. That's also not a problem of mine. And that was something that, I mean, ultimately, I ain't gonna lie, I did want to get a mortgage, to get some property that was move-in ready, pretty much, but I didn't qualify, and that didn't stop me. I knew, basically cash is king, and as long as you got cash, don't ever think that cash doesn't trump credit, because cash will always, pretty much for the most part, trump credit. So if you can find somebody that owns some property and is willing to, sell you that property or give you that property on contract, I mean, there you go. Now you have, some property that, you can pay on, and it's just kind of like, you come up with some type of, agreement to pay the house off in terms. So, I mean, it's just little stuff like that where, you can deal with that problem. If not nothing else, you can deal with your problem of not having a place to live. Not having to worry about paying rent. Getting a mortgage company calling you or some landlord calling you about a missed rental payment. Those issues won't be your problems. So, it's just, this is one of many videos that I'll do that, I'll be, talking about this subject of momentum, if you have any input on the subject, I would definitely appreciate your comments. This is one of the things that I say that is pretty much a game changer that some people do know. They know relatively well. A lot of people struggle with this. They struggle with this concept.